Hello, Derpybay here, and welcome to Buy or Deny, where I tell you if a game's worth buying or not. After all, some studios out there like to release games with high prices, but low quality. With all that being said, today's Buy or Deny is Digimon Survive, a game that's had a 4-year wait, so there's been a lot of people waiting for it, and at the moment, they're doing a promo where if you buy the game in the first month, you will receive a Guilmon to use in your playthrough. Now, that may not be a big deal to people who never saw Tamers, but if you saw Tamers, you know how much of a big deal that is. Obviously, though, it's only for a month. It's a market employed to get people to buy it immediately, which, personally, I don't like it when games do that, but I can respect the hustle. Digimon's a franchise that is it's like Pokemon really, it's iconic, it's been there forever, it evolved from just Tamagotchis, and you know what? It's in its right to take its time to make a game, because every time we get a game that's Digimon, it's different. Which is why I think this will be really helpful for people who are Digimon fans but are still on the fence whether they need to get this game or not. I imagine if you're here, you already know what Digimon are, but just for anyone who doesn't, Digimon are digital creatures that live in a virtual world and sometimes come to our world, humans go to their world, vice versa. So let's get started with the review of Digimon Survive. Digimon Survive sets out to make itself a tactical RPG with visual novel elements and point-and-click adventure, but also really intense and strategic battles that take place on an isometric field in an overworld, which is very reminiscent of Final Fantasy Tactics and the Disgaea franchise. Both are very strategic games, both have a lot to offer. Plus, it is very easy to see where their gameplay designs and elements may have influenced or played out role in Digimon Survive, because you will see some similarities. Now, let's start by talking about what Digimon Survive does well. When it comes to Digimon Survive, one of the main defining aspects of this game is the story. And don't worry about spoilers, I'm going to do my best to keep spoilers out of it. So, anyone who's been watching the Digimon franchise lately knows that Digimon has gone down a little darker path lately than usual. Starting with Ghost Game, which was the Digimon anime, it seems like Digimon has been leaning into the darker themes and horror aspects. Don't get me wrong, it always has leaned into the slightly darker themes, but it does seem like Digimon is, committed. And not just for Digimon's death. The game is called Digimon Survive, and it is a visual novel point-and-click adventure for quite a lot of it. And it does seem like your decisions and morality will play a massive effect on this story. And it doesn't just seem like Digimon are the only things that will be killable this time around. I've got a lot of human characters here. They're all very well written, and they've all got their own unique personalities. And yeah, if something happens to them, I think I'm going to be really sad. But character death does definitely seem like a factor here, and your decisions will affect who lives and who dies in Digimon Survive. We're talking about story here, but one thing you can't ignore is characters, and like I've said, you've got a diverse cast of humans. They all got their own personalities, they've all got their own style, fashion choices, and they've all got their own Digimon partners. And one of the best things about this story and this game specifically is the fact that Digimon are actually characters too. They're not just our partners who we send out into battle and we don't really have much communication with. Our Digimon will talk to us in cutscenes, they're going to talk to each character, they're going to talk to each other, and they've all got their own personalities. And to me, that makes this game a hell of a lot worth it, because I love virtual pet games, but the problem I have with a lot of games is the pet doesn't really show personality other than the default that it has. Like, Pokemon has an excuse. No Pokemon can talk unless it's like Mewtwo. But Digimon, all the Digimon can talk. And in other games like Cyber Sleuth or Digimon World, most of my partners didn't talk for like 90% of the time. And if they did, it was on very rare occasions. This game, however, because it's got the visual novel element, the Digimon are now characters. It is wonderful. And that just makes the entire thing a lot more interesting to me. All that being said on the story, like you've been warned, Digimon Survive goes for a little bit more of a darker theme this time around, and Digimon isn't unfamiliar to killing off Digimon, but I do think this is the first game where they're going to actually kill off humans as well, and one thing I just have to admire about this franchise is how they're so willing not to hold back. Like, I was watching Digimon as a kid, and I saw, so many deaths in Season 1, I mean, it's had so many seasons, and we've even got an ongoing joke that every time we see a Leomon, we should all be prepared to mourn him because, let's face it, Leomon in the anime never makes it to the end of the season. Now that we've discussed story, let's talk about the UI. The UI is fairly simple, it's point and click when you're in cutscenes, and when you're in battle, it's got menus. But one of my favourite things is the pause menu, where you can go and look, and it's very phone and app themed, and I just love that because Digimon's a franchise about technology and, digital stuff, and just having the menus be very phone themed, it's a very nice subtle nod to that, and it's just wonderful. The UI is simple, it's easy to understand, and yeah, I think that they've added a lot of attention to details with the UI, especially when you go to the character menu, because one of my favorite little things is you get to meet the human characters and you see them on the character menu where you see your affinity, but until they have their Digimon partner, only they appear on that. And I just like that because it shows that this product is a labor of love. And it's just a nice little subtle nod to the details of the story. And it really does show that the studio has taken its time to kind of add a lot of polish to this game. Music is the next topic of this game, and frankly, I adore the music that is being used in Digimon Survive. They've really understood that they are a point and click visual novel kind of game when they're not doing the battles, and that means that the music has to be top notch, and the music is. Frankly, it's really good at setting the atmosphere. Like, the minute the music started going eerie when I transitioned from one scene to another, and the random sound design that gets played every now and then in the cutscenes, it just, I say random because it's for when stuff appears. It's just top notch. The instruments and the shifts in tone, it really does help the player feel unnerved and like danger can come around any corner. And frankly, that is what you want when you've got a point and click adventure game. You want the music to be one of your main assets. And in Digimon Survive, it really is. Now, let's go on to the cutscene mechanics and the visual novel mechanics, because I've spoke about them a little bit, but I've not really gone into detail. So, you've got the point and click, and I will be honest with all of you right now, that is wonderful for exploration. I do think it could have been done a tiny bit better when it comes to actually making so we actually do need to search around a bit more. They do give you your phone, obviously, and your phone's camera can be used to detect oddities and stuff that the human eye can't see. I love this mechanic, mainly because it reminds me of Fatal Frame, a horror series that is deep to my heart, so yes, they gain bonus points for this mechanic, I'm not gonna lie to you. So, when you're in these cutscenes, you'll be talking to a number of different characters, and your decisions will affect your morality. And given the fact that it's a visual novel, it's going to have the branching paths depending on how your morality goes, but this morality also affects your relationship with characters, and you can gain affinity with them and, increase your friendship with them. That allows you to have additional effects in battle, which is great because it means that you should really think about your choices. After all, you don't want to accidentally make someone hate you and then they end up dead. Right, let us talk about the most important gameplay mechanic that will make or break for people, the battle system. Right, the battle system is very good if you're a fan of strategy games. It is really fun to move your Digimon about the map, use your Digimon's unique skills that you can upgrade, and also, let's face it, Digimon digivolving will eventually be a thing as you progress through the story. Now, the battle mechanics have a lot of polish to them, and one of my favourite things is at the end of a turn you get to decide which way your Digimon's facing, and you need to think smart here, because if you get attacked from behind, you're gonna get extra damage done on you, and that is not a good thing. And also, one of the best mechanics in this is the ability to talk. Digimon can actually talk to their partners mid-battle or talk to another set of partners mid-battle, and this actually really works well because in the anime a lot of the Digimon kids just end up shouting for their Digimon to try and motivate them for battles, and it's kind of like that. It allows you to give your Digimon buffs, and that can really make or break whether you're going to get through a match or not. Another gameplay mechanic is the fact that some Digimon are going to be naturally better at fighting other Digimon. It's just an advantage system, and it really is going to play into who you choose to send into your battles. And another gameplay mechanic I like about the battle system is you can give your Digimon items to increase their attack power and their defenses, and the game even has a shop for you to get these items. So that is a wonderful addition to this strategy game, because obviously, You're going to want to equip your Digimon with stuff to make sure they don't die. Right, and I hope you're having a good time because we've been through the good. And if you are having a good time, if you could like and maybe drop a sub to the channel if you want to see more of these reviews, or if you've got an idea for a game you'd like me to review, please leave it in the comments. I would love to know what people want to see. Or hell, if you have an idea of how I can make this channel better or these videos better, let me know, because obviously feedback, as long as it's constructive, is always good to have. Right, let's get on with feedback for the bad of Digimon Survive. Right, when it comes to the bad, pacing is going to be a big issue for some players. This isn't naturally a bad design on Digimon Survive's aspect, it's a bad design for players who aren't used to the visual mechanics of a visual novel. After all, artwork in this game is beautiful to look at, and the character designs are amazing, and so much expression has gone into them. But at the end of the day, that's not going to be for every player, and it doesn't mean Digimon Survive is a bad game. It's just a bad mechanic for those players. And that is something I have to acknowledge. It's not a bad mechanic on Digimon Survive. Digimon Survive sets out to be a visual novel point-and-click adventure with battle RPG tactics in it. But obviously, for players who prefer more actiony Digimon games, this game will not be for them. That being said, let's go on to something that will be the make or break for some people, which is the controls. I am lucky enough to have the game on computer, and therefore I can use a mouse and keyboard or a controller. Now, I have to be honest with everyone, this could be me, but I play a lot of MMOs, and I found the controls on the keyboard and mouse to be slightly confusing, and I actually swapped to my PS4 controller. And I've got to say, having a handheld controller just made the game so much easier to use, and I do recommend using a controller for people. Obviously, this will differ because skill level. It is a skill level, and clearly I'm not skilled enough, but yes. I would definitely recommend you use a controller for this game. We've just gone over controls, and now we may as well mention that this game is on multiple platforms. That is not a bad thing, but obviously, with a game being on multiple platforms, some versions could be better than the others. In my opinion, I would not buy the game on Switch, mainly because the Switch is for Nintendo exclusives, and this is not an exclusive. But yeah, this is mainly due to the fact is, yes, sure, you can use the handheld mode with the Switch, but one major deal breaker for me with the Switch is Switch games tend to be more expensive. And Nintendo knows this. Does this mean that you can get Digimon on sale with Nintendo in the future? Yeah, probably when they have the rare sale, but at the same time, again, Switch games are just naturally more expensive than regular games these days, so sadly, I would definitely stay away from the Switch version. Right, Digimon Survive pricing. I've seen prices, I'm in the UK, and that means that the currency I use is pounds, and at the moment I've seen it priced at £44 at places, I've seen it priced near £50, and I understand that is quite a bit of money for people these days. So, I understand that for a lot of people it can be out of budget. If you really want a Digimon game, thankfully, Digimon are a franchise where their games tend to have different mechanics each time, and there is a lot of different Digimon games out there for you. I would recommend Cyber Sleuth. You get 2 games because they've got a dual package now where you get 1 and 2, and you also get to have a more actiony style gameplay if you're not a fan of the whole visual novel gameplay style of point-and-click adventures like this one. It's a little different from the strategy and battle system you've seen in this game, but it's still very good, and therefore, I'd recommend that for any die-hard Digimon fans who want a Digimon game. Now, the final question overall is Digimon Survive a buy or deny game? And to me, it is absolutely 100% a buy game. As I said earlier in the video, Digimon Survive sets out to be a heavily story-based visual novel point-and-click adventure with a strategic battle mechanics, and it does them very well. That's what it's out to do, and it's delivered a very good product. And that is what you want at the end of the day for your money. If you're going to spend your money on a product, you want it to be good. And that's why Digimon Survive gets a buy. Now, I hope you've had a wonderful time, and if you're still here, again, thank you so much for giving me your time. If you want to see more buy or deny in the future, or if you want me to do more reviews on video games, please let me know, and leave them in the comments. It does not have to be a new game. I would like to do buy or deny on old games, or any game coming out as well. So, yeah, And, you know, if you've got any opinions or stuff that you have disagreed with me on this review and you've played the game yourself, leave them in the comments. I want to know what other people thought of this because I enjoy talking about Digimon with people. So, yes, thank you so much, and I hope you have a lovely day.